Our story begins on a small island in the Indian Ocean, Mauritius. No predators, no stress. Just sunlight, palm trees, and a buffet of fallen fruit. It's paradise. The kind of place where evolution hits the snooze button and you, my friend, are a dodo, one of the most famous birds in history. Mostly because you don't exist anymore. You hatch from a large, cream-colored egg nestled on the forest floor. Your parents watch proudly as you wobble on your oversized legs. For now, life is simple and safe. You eat, you nap, you grow, and absolutely nothing wants to eat you. Mauritius is lush and full of life with ebony trees, giant tortoises, lizards, and birds of every color. The air is thick with humidity and birdsong. You share this island with peaceful neighbors who, like you, have never met danger. Everyone's thriving in their own laid-back, sun-soaked way. It's the kind of world where evolution can afford to take a holiday. Lucky you. As you mature, you realize your kind has it made. There's fruit on the ground, shade in every direction, and the only real danger is tripping over your own feet. Generations of dodos have lived this way. No predators, no pressure. And so, slowly but surely, you and your ancestors traded flight for comfort. Your wings? Still there, technically, but they're more like feathery decorations. They flap a little when you're excited, but you're not going anywhere with them. Instead, you've got thick legs built for walking, a strong beak for cracking fruit, and a stomach that never says no. You're perfectly adapted to paradise, which, as it turns out, is the worst kind of training for what's coming next. With no predators to chase you and no migration to worry about, life is slow and predictable. You spend your days waddling between fruit trees, stuffing yourself with whatever has fallen to the forest floor. Guavas, palm fruits, maybe a seed or two. You drink rainwater from puddles and lounge in the shade when it gets too hot. You're basically living the bird version of a resort holiday, permanent, all-inclusive. The most strenuous thing you do all week is preen your feathers or stretch your wings for show. And you're not alone. Your island community includes gentle giant tortoises lumbering through the underbrush, pink pigeons fluttering between branches, and fruit bats napping upside down. Nobody's hunting anybody. It's the ultimate truce, peace achieved through collective laziness. If you ever get startled, which is rare, your instinct isn't to fly, it's to look mildly offended and walk away briskly. It's not cowardice, it's confidence. You own this island, at least for now. One calm afternoon, something strange happened. Wooden giants appear on the horizon, and they are filled with strange creatures that look nothing like anything you've ever seen. They are tall, loud, wrapped in fabric, and holding shiny objects. Humans. They've sailed across the ocean and discovered your peaceful island. You watch them curiously, unaware that your species has just met its biggest challenge. You've never seen predators before, so you don't run. Why would you? They don't look particularly dangerous. Spoiler, they are. The humans seem fascinated by you at first. You're large, friendly, and slow, which makes you incredibly approachable. Unfortunately, that also makes you incredibly edible. Within days, they start catching and cooking your relatives. They even give you a name, Dodo, from the Portuguese word for simpleton. It's not exactly flattering, but it sticks. You've gone from local wildlife to a menu item almost overnight. But the sailors aren't just hungry, they're also bored. For months at sea, they've been eating salted meat and stale biscuits. Then they find you. A giant, flightless bird that doesn't run away. It's practically a buffet that walks up and introduces itself. They try roasting, boiling, and salting your kind, experimenting with recipes like they're running a 17th century cooking show. Some complain you're too tough. Others claim you taste fine. Either way, it's bad news for you, and it's not just the sailors. Later settlers, runaway slaves, and pirates also moved onto the island, cutting down forests and building farms. Every new arrival means less forest and more mouths to feed, and somehow you're always on the menu. If things weren't bad enough, you soon learn that humans don't come alone. They bring uninvited guests, dogs, cats, pigs, rats, and monkeys. Each one is a walking catastrophe for your species. Rats raid your nests and devour your eggs. Dogs chase you for sport. Pigs tear up the forest floor, destroying your food and your home. You can't fly away, you can't hide. You can only watch as your island, your entire world, fills with creatures that were never meant to be here. Within just a few decades, your population plummets. The forests are thinner, the fruit scarcer, And the once carefree dodo is now living on borrowed time. And it's not just you. The giant tortoises vanish too. Native birds disappear one by one. The ecosystem collapses like a house of cards, all because the newcomers couldn't resist bringing their pets and their problems with them. Back then, people didn't even have a word for extinction. The idea that an entire species could vanish forever simply didn't occur to them. To them, nature was endless, an infinite pantry that would always restock itself. You, unfortunately, were among the first clues that this wasn't true. By the late 1600s, it's over. The last dodo disappears somewhere deep in the Mauritian forest. No one writes down the date. No one builds a monument. One moment, you're the king of an island. The next, you're a ghost. For a while, people even thought you were a myth, a sailor's tall tale about a fat, clumsy bird that couldn't run or fly. But then, centuries later, scientists uncover your bones. They study your remains, your drawings, your legend, and finally they piece together who you really were. You weren't some prehistoric oddball. You were a giant pigeon, the distant cousin of the birds that now peck at breadcrumbs in city parks. You were peaceful, curious, and tragically unprepared for the chaos that humans brought with them. Even after your extinction, you kept causing confusion. Early naturalists couldn't decide if you were real or fake, a bird or some kind of giant penguin. It took hundreds of years, a few skeletons, and a lot of arguing before scientists finally agreed. The dodo really did exist, and yes, humans really did wipe it out. Your bones became prized trophies in European museums. Artists painted exaggerated versions of you, some based more on imagination than evidence. That's why most people today think you were this plump, awkward creature that barely moved. In truth, you were probably slimmer, faster, and smarter than anyone gave you credit for. You just had the worst luck imaginable. Being perfectly adapted to paradise turned out to be your greatest weakness. No fear, no flight, no future. But in death, you became something more than just a bird. You became a symbol, a reminder of how fragile nature can be, and how easily humans can tip the balance. You've been painted, sculpted, written about, and turned into characters in books and games. Your name has now become a metaphor, gone the way of the dodo, for anything that disappears before its time. You might have vanished centuries ago, but you're busier than ever. You're in Alice in Wonderland, in Pokemon, on coins, t-shirts, and company logos. You're basically the only extinct species with better branding than some living ones. Sure, you're extinct, but your PR team is doing great. And the best part? Scientists are still obsessed with you. Some are even talking about cloning you back into existence. If they succeed, you'll be the first species to make a comeback because of bad press. So yes, it really sucked to be a dodo. You had no idea what was coming, no defenses to fight it, and no time to adapt. But you also became a legend. You taught humanity its first real lesson in extinction, one that still echoes today. So cheers, Dodo, the bird that couldn't fly, didn't run, and somehow became the ultimate comeback story. Minus the actual comeback. You started as a pigeon, became an island icon, turned into a cautionary tale, and ended up as a pop culture legend. Not bad for a bird that couldn't outrun a hungry sailor, and so yes, you're famous, but mostly as the punchline to your own extinction. While other birds evolved to survive, you evolved into a metaphor. Congratulations, you're history's most beloved warning label.